Naomi House is an emergency shelter for kids that are being picked up for a lot of different reasons, but usually has to do with drugs, alcohol, neglect, things like that that are plaguing our reservations. My name is Genevieve Skidmore. I am the executive director of our children's home here in northern Arizona, where we are serving Native American children in need. We have an emergency shelter, 12-bed emergency shelter contracted with the Navajo Nation. And we also have 10 kids in our long-term foster kids home. So that's kind of low for right now, but we normally have 25 kids, 365 days a year. I'm originally from South Dakota. I'm a member of the Oglala Lakota Sioux tribe, born and raised in South Dakota. And a lot of the statistics that you might not know about Native American people is my own testimony. I was really caught up in darkness for so long. Drug addiction, alcoholism, domestic violence, teen pregnancy, you name it. I was going nowhere fast, and I basically fled South Dakota at a very young age for my life, and I ended up in the middle of Phoenix. My sister and I were living in Phoenix, and my mom prayed really hard for us our whole life. She used to take us to church growing up, but I didn't want nothing to do with her God. He seemed like he was powerless. He seemed like he wasn't real. So we ended up in Phoenix, and because of my mom's prayers, we ended up in a church parking lot one Sunday morning. And the power of God met us right there in the parking lot, and he changed my life instantly. I was immediately delivered of addiction and hopelessness, worthlessness, pointlessness, all of it. He changed me. I realized in a moment's time that I was forgiven of all of my sin and that he had a purpose for my life, and I fell in love with Jesus. And he knew I would do what he wanted me to do, and I Googled Native American ministry in Arizona, and Naomi House is the only ministry that came up. And I came out to meet the founder, Linda, who's from Louisville, Kentucky. And I was only going to spend the weekend out here. And that weekend, we were driving to church on that Sunday on the reservation. And I knew her of like 24 hours. And she looked at me and she said, "I had a dream about you." And she said, "I believe that God has called you here to learn how to run Naomi House so that you could take it to South Dakota one day," because she knew I was from South Dakota and just how harsh the statistics are right there in the middle of America, in the heart of Pine Ridge, the Oglala Sioux territory. And I felt that feeling like, oh gosh, I know that's true, but Lord, it's not necessarily something that I want to do. And I remember going back to Phoenix, and God just opened up every door for me to step out in faith and move to northern Arizona to this little place called Jackrabbit, where this woman and 11 kids were living. And I remember pulling up on the parking lot and I said, "God, I will give you 1 year." And I was so proud. I thought, man, he really hit the jackpot, because I'm going to give him a whole year. And every year after that, I would say 1 year, 1 year. And then eventually, about 10 years later, when Linda ended up retiring, we were in a board meeting, and all the board of directors looked at me and they asked me to take the ministry over. And with tears running down my face, I said, "God, I'll do it for 1 year." And that same year, my grandmother called me, and she's Catholic, and she never talks about God spoke to me. But she called me that same year, and she said, "God told me to give you the 600 acres of tribal land in South Dakota to start a Naomi House children's home." And that was about 6 years ago. And I ended up in a tribal council meeting that year with my grandmother, and they unanimously voted for us to come and serve the Lakota children as a Christ-centered Christian ministry on my grandmother's land. And all these years I've known for sure that we were going to go to the South Dakota to do this. The land is located right next to Oglala, and it's really rough area. I've always known we're supposed to do it. I might have put it off as much as I could because I know it's not going to be easy. But this last summer, actually just a couple months ago in July, I went out to South Dakota to raise some awareness at an event, and God himself opened up every every door that needed to be opened in order for us to do the next step of breaking ground in South Dakota. And so I knew for sure when I was coming back from South Dakota a couple months ago that God said, do it now. So I sent out an email to our very small email list. It's small right now. And I said, we need a truck and we need $30,000. And within 10 days, somebody dropped off a Ford F-150 truck on our parking lot, and a unanimous donor sent us $20,000. Another sent $5,000, and literally exactly what we needed fell in our lap in 7 to 10 days. And I said, okay, God, we're gonna go. So we have a person that's ready to move out there. I believe we're gonna move her out there by this spring. We're just going to start in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath trailer, and we will worry about building later. But we are going to go ahead and just move forward in faith. And it was so amazing on this trip that God brought me to the front door of every single Native American Christian leader over that region in that same week. And we're having our very first Kingdom Council conference in Pine Ridge with all of the Native American Christian leaders, because at the end of the day, it really is the body of Christ that is going to do something about the problems that are plaguing the Native American people, the children, this generation. The church has to respond. And for that reason, the Lord told me to write a book, and I want to tell you about it, because for anybody that feels a call to Native American ministry, to missions, to a people group that's not your own, even right here in stateside, it's going to help to answer a lot of the questions that most people have. And so here's my little plug here. It's called Send Me, I'll Go, Preparing for the Call. It's published through TBN, and it will be released on November 15th. And the website and all that will be available to you. But it's to raise awareness, because there's so many people in the United States of America that do not have an understanding of what's going on in our backyard. And so I really, and this is my personal conviction, believe that when God raises up the First Nations people, because there is a strategic place in the body of Christ for the Native American people, and when they are raised up in their identity in Him, I really believe it's going to shift things in America. I think that the warrior spirit on the inside of natives is going to do damage to the kingdom of darkness, and I really believe that's why they've been hit so very hard. So in this hour, in this season, God told us raise awareness. So we're doing a lot of doing just that. And I just appreciate you all listening, and for your time and for your heart, that you do have a heart to care and to serve and to be educated. And one of the easiest ways that you can help us to educate is get a hold of that YouTube video. It's an 8-minute video, and share it with everybody that you could possibly share it with on all platforms in any way, shape, or form. It's a free way for you to seriously get involved. And I just thank God for you, and thank you for your time, and God bless you all.